What if Anakin Skywalker were to fight Thanos, or even Dr. Doofenshmirtz? To answer these questions, I have assembled a list of the 20 greatest villains from some of the most popular movies, and put them all on a tier list, and ranked them based on their chances of beating the Chosen One. Some villains have no chance at all. They'll go at the bottom in the Youngling tier. Slightly above that are the villains that could last a few seconds against Anakin, but realistically they're not gonna win. In the middle is the decent fight tier. These villains are going to be able to hold their own against Anakin. The fight may go on for a while, but Anakin will still beat them eventually. Next up is they could beat Anakin. These villains are powerful enough that you just can't be sure who would win in a fight. It's a 50-50 matchup. Depending on the day, these guys are definitely able to take out a Jedi. And the greatest villains of all will go in the high ground tier, if they can definitely beat Anakin. As you'll find out, it's really hard to reach this tier. The twist is, I have no clue what some of these villains do, so some of these rankings are going to be super random. If I get a ranking wrong, you'll have to call me out in the comments. Our first villain is the Joker. As much as I love the Joker, Anakin would wipe the floor with him. Fighting isn't really Joker's specialty. Throughout movies like The Dark Knight, the Joker relies on being unpredictable to beat his opponents. That's great against normal people, but with Anakin's force powers, he's gonna see it coming. I do wonder if the Joker could emotionally manipulate Anakin in some way though. Depending on the situation, he could definitely convince Anakin to walk straight into a trap or do something stupid. Because of that, I say the Joker could last a few seconds at least. Now believe it or not, there's some villains that Anakin could only last a few seconds against, like Thanos. Now if we're talking about Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet, obviously all it takes is a move of his hand to destroy Anakin instantly. He could turn Anakin into a Lego minifigure, or even some sand if he really wanted to rub in the Victory Royale. But even without the stones, Thanos is still a problem. I think Thanos is actually durable enough to tank some lightsaber hits. So if Anakin doesn't have that option, all it would take is a couple of massive punches from the Mad Titan to finish him off. Anakin could try throwing Thanos around with the Force, but unless he resorts to a Force choke, there's no way he's beating Grimace on steroids. Our first high ground of the day. Okay, so far so good. We got two iconic villains to start us off. Who's next? Gollum? Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that there's some really funny random villains on this list just to spice it up. You're not gonna see some of these coming. I guess there's always a chance Anakin wouldn't see Gollum coming if he had the ring on. But even with the Precious, Anakin's just gonna sense the dude sneaking up on him. If Anakin bothered pulling out his lightsaber, Gollum would just be blinded by the light. No matter how you spin it, Gollum can't do anything to the Chosen One. It helps that Gollum is about the size of a Jedi Youngling too. We all know how great Anakin is at dealing with that. That's probably why Darla from Finding Nemo would have no chance against him. She's a pretty great villain, when your hero is a fish. I mean, maybe Anakin doesn't take her seriously and she bites him with her braces or something, but we all know Anakin takes the threat of younglings very seriously. Roblox should take a page out of his book. Anakin also killed his fair share of droids during the Clone Wars. So while the T-800 Terminator would be an interesting matchup for him, I still think Anakin clears. T-800s are insanely durable, but one of the few things they're vulnerable to is plasma weapons. And, well, Anakin just so happens to have one of those. I think the beginning of this fight would be interesting. At T-800's power at first, until he figures out a strategy to take out the robot. He'll fit just fine in the decent fight tier. As you'll notice throughout this video, Anakin having a lightsaber makes a huge difference in some of these fights. It just goes to show why Jedi carry them. For example, if Anakin ever needed to fight Chick Hicks from the Cars movie, he could just cut him in half. Chick Hicks would actually be a tough opponent for most people. Your average person isn't going to be able to avoid being run over by a sentient car. But for a Jedi, it's light work. No chance. I can just imagine Anakin laughing as he watches this talking car driving straight towards him. I can already tell that this would be the perfect plot for a brain rot video. However, if Anakin were to fight Megatron, things would be way different. Anakin's speed and agility would make it tough for Megatron to stomp on him. Likely, it'd be hard to aim his guns as well. But 99% of the time, I'm taking the walking skyscraper with guns and missiles, no matter who's fighting them. All it would take is one missile strike for Anakin to just be obliterated. His lightsaber would just be a popsicle stick compared to how much Megatron there is. If Anakin tries to decapitate Megatron, he'll probably get electrocuted to death before he even gets close. And if he goes for the spark, there's just too much armor in the way. I think there's a chance Anakin could still use the Force to disable Megatron or even destroy the spark entirely though. In my opinion, Megatron could very well beat Anakin, but we don't know for certain. Next up is Ghostface, the iconic villain from the Scream movies. This might come as a surprise to some of you. But you gotta remember, all Ghostface really does is run at people with a knife and look scary. That's cool for running after idiots with a horror movie, but for fighting a Jedi with a lightsaber, that's not gonna cut it. While we're on the subject of horror movies, Chucky is next on my list. He's definitely a bit more powerful than Ghostface, but I don't think the odds are in his favor. Anakin would definitely underestimate this doll. Chucky has superhuman strength and insane durability that might actually keep a lightsaber from chopping him up right away. There would be a short fight, but Anakin's got this one in the bag. Unfortunately, the problem here is that Chucky is technically immortal. As long as there's other dolls for his spirit to inhabit, he can keep on coming back. So I guess if he kept coming after Anakin, it could get annoying after a while. But regardless, a freaking doll isn't gonna slow down a Jedi. I think the last few seconds tier works just fine here. I think it's time for us to give Anakin a challenge again. How about Voldemort from the Harry Potter series as his next matchup? This could be a crazy fight. Two of the most powerful people from their respective universes going head to head. We all know lightsabers can deflect pretty much anything, but what about spells? In the Clone Wars, Jedi are able to stop a spell that you can see, like Mother Talzin's magic, but you wouldn't be able to see a curse like Avada Kedavra. So Anakin would just have to use a force push or run and dodge the spell. So all the Dark Lord has to do is get one lucky shot to instant kill Anakin. If Anakin can survive the first few seconds of the fight, he'd know to use the force to take away Voldemort's wand and destroy it. The thing is, Voldemort would probably have some sort of protective spell in place to prevent this from happening. So Anakin would have to get creative. But I think he's quick enough to keep out of danger long enough to figure something out. It's close, but I think he who must not be named peaks in the maybe tier. I'm one of those people that loves word association, so it's only logical that we talk about Harry and Marv next from the Home Alone movies, since we just talked about Harry Potter. I love these guys, but they're not even good at their job. I feel like I could have been a much better robber. At the very least, I'm not getting finessed by Kevin. I will say these two are pretty durable for normal humans. There's not many people that can take a hot iron to the face or a crowbar to the chest and keep on going like it's nothing. But they would be no match for a lightsaber. Even strictly in a fist fight, Anakin's gonna go off like prime Conor McGregor on them. They've got no chance. If you're just a human against Anakin, you need something special to give you the edge. For example, you could just pop some super serum like the Winter Soldier. This fight raises yet another problem. Could a lightsaber cut through vibranium? In the MCU, vibranium is basically the most indestructible material there is. The Star Wars equivalent might be Beskar or Cortosis, both of which deflect lightsabers. So if Anakin happens to be able to cut through, it would probably take quite a few hits first. The other thing is that Bucky is highly trained with guns, and lightsabers aren't great at blocking real bullets. That would give Anakin some serious trouble. Realistically though, Anakin would have no trouble using the Force to disarm the Winter Soldier at the start. I imagine Bucky could use his prosthetic arm to get Anakin to drop his lightsaber, so in hand-to-hand combat, things would be very interesting. But ultimately, Anakin's gonna come out on top. There's not much the Winter Soldier can do to actually kill Anakin. He'll go in the decent fight tier. Moving along, we've got Agent Smith from the Matrix series. And this whole part got blocked by YouTube. I had said Agent Smith would definitely be Anakin, but I forgot that copyright claim wins every time. What about an animal versus Anakin? Like, say, a Xenomorph? This fight would be entertaining because of how a lightsaber would interact with the alien's acid blood. I've seen some people say that the saber would simply cauterize the wound, making it an easy dub for Anakin. Others think that the blood is too powerful to cauterize. I even saw one person say the heat of the lightsaber would create an acid blood mist. That would be insane and terrible for Anakin. Basically, the Xenomorph's chances hinge entirely on whether it has its acid blood available. If you haven't seen the movies, its blood can basically burn through anything in an instant. So if it happens to get on Anakin's skin, it's game over. Unless Anakin decided to be stupid or got unlucky, I don't think that would happen though. The Xenomorph would put up a decent fight, but nothing more. Venom is kind of like the Xenomorph. If the symbiote got on Anakin, it'd be all but over for him. However, in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, the symbiote is shown to be very weak to sound and fire. Anakin would have no idea it hated loud sounds, but I imagine the lightsaber's heat would do more than enough to mess up Venom's molecular structure. Homelander would put up a much better fight than Venom, but I don't think he could definitely beat Anakin. This is the first character on this list where I don't really know what they do, since I've never watched The Boys. But what I do know is that he has heat vision, which, don't get me wrong, is incredibly overpowered, but I don't think that's too much for Anakin to handle. Realistically, a lightsaber probably can't block heat vision. at least not for more than a couple of seconds. If Anakin could survive the beginning of the fight, maybe he could use the Force to keep Homelander looking in a certain direction or something. If you're enjoying this video so far, definitely be sure to hit the like button. If we get 5,000 likes, I'll make a sequel with another character instead of Anakin. Another character with heat vision powers is General Zod, one of the main villains in the Superman franchise. Just like Superman, Zod is impervious to pretty much everything, so a lightsaber isn't going to do much to him. That's not including his long list of superpowers, from being able to fly at insanely fast speeds to using his breath to freeze things in place. And unfortunately for Anakin, kryptonite lightsabers don't exist yet, at least to my knowledge. However, the new Superman movie reminded us that Kryptonians can be choked to death. If this were Darth Vader, obviously he'd lead with that option. But Anakin might only use the Force choke as a last resort, and by then it would be way too late. Aside from that technicality, Anakin would get absolutely destroyed. Zod is a top-tier villain. Yet another villain who's similar to Superman is Omni Man. I haven't watched Invincible, but a few quick Google searches tell me the show must be named after him or something, because this guy is insanely good at pretty much everything. Apparently, he can throw around an asteroid the size of Texas, among other things like super speed like the Flash and the ability to fly. He's a Viltrumite, a super overpowered alien race similar to Kryptonians. Clearly, Anakin stands absolutely no chance. The only thing Anakin could do is use a Jedi mind trick to convince Omni Man to do something that would kill him, like fly into the sun or something. Maybe a Force choke would work, but I don't know. As great as Omni Man seems to be though, I'm guessing he has a strong enough of a mind that a simple mind trick won't stop him. It's over, Anakin. Omni Man has the high ground. Syndrome can also fly, but only because of his tech. By himself, he has absolutely no powers. But the powers he does have could be tough for Anakin to deal with. His main weapon is 0-point energy, and based on its properties, I don't think a lightsaber would be able to block it. If Anakin underestimated Syndrome, it's possible that Syndrome could stun him temporarily. But all Anakin would have to do is use the Force to destroy his rocket boots, which would remove any of Syndrome's mobility. From there, Anakin wouldn't have to break a sweat to seal the deal. Let's go back to horror movies for a minute and look at Freddie Kreuger. Freddy is an interesting case, since he can only hurt someone in their dreams. And if there's one thing we know about Anakin, it's that he's had his fair share of nightmares. Freddy would easily be able to manipulate Anakin's dreams and impersonate Padme or his mom to give him a crazy nightmare. The thing is, Freddy would still have a very hard time actually hurting Anakin. All he's got to work with are these goofy claw hands. Anakin won't need his lightsaber to deal with that. So while Anakin might have a mental breakdown and could potentially get hurt because of it, it's not the end of the world. If he was ever about to die to Freddy, I'm sure he could just make himself wake up. A decent fight, nothing more. Pennywise possesses many of the same powers, but he doesn't need dreams to get the job done, which makes him way more dangerous than Freddy. Anakin's pretty weak mentally, so Pennywise would have an easy time manipulating him. Sure, he's not gonna scare Anakin like he could jump scare some kid, but all Pennywise has to do is pretend to be his mom, just like the nightmares. And just like the Joker, the unpredictable nature of these mental attacks could catch Anakin off guard for a bit, or maybe even disable him if Pennywise was able to drive him close to insanity. But as soon as he tries to attack Anakin, it's wraps. I think Anakin's strength in the Force would allow him to be just fine in combat, regardless of whatever hallucinations Pennywise is throwing at him. He'll go in the decent fight tier as well. If there's one thing we know about Pennywise, it's that it loves kids. But Herbert for Family Guy loves kids a lot in horror. We see that Herbert has surprisingly good speed and agility, being able to run as fast as kids on bikes. Unfortunately for him, his only weapon is a walker, so Anakin wouldn't have to try too hard to beat him. And even if we're talking about the Family Guy Star Wars version of Herbert, he's still gonna lose badly. I mean, come on. His lightsaber doesn't even work half the time. Herbert still loved this placement because he's going straight into the youngling tier. Joining Herbert in the F tier is Dr. Doofenshmirtz. This guy's an inventor, except he's more like if the F students were the only inventors we ever had, because almost all of his inventions never work. For the sake of giving him a chance in a fight, let's just say he does have some of his successful inventions at his disposal. If Doofenshmirtz were able to lure Anakin into the other Dimensionator, maybe he could trap Anakin in another world. But we all know Anakin's not falling for that. Or maybe the Repulsinator. If you get hit with that, you get turned into a zombie version of Doofenshmirtz. Once again, Anakin's just gonna dodge that thing. No chance Doofy is doing anything here. The polar opposite of Dr. Doofenshmirtz versus Anakin would be Anakin versus Magneto. If Anakin was wearing his typical Clone Wars armor, Magneto could just push that armor into Anakin's chest and crush him to death. The fight would be over before it even started. But let's just say Anakin's only wearing the Jedi robes we see in Revenge of the Sith. Magneto could still destroy or disable Anakin's lightsaber, either by manipulating the metal or using an EMP pulse. From there, he can just destroy Anakin's metal arm as well. Anakin can't catch a break with this one. So I guess the question becomes, could Anakin beat Magneto with one arm? And well, even though he could still use the Force, I really can't think of a way Anakin could pull this one off. Magneto would definitely beat Anakin, no doubt about that. But if you've been looking at the tier list throughout this video, you probably noticed this mystery character at the end. I decided to include one surprise villain from the Star Wars universe to fight Anakin, and that character is General Grievous. Grievous might be shorter than Anakin expected, but I believe he would give Anakin a run for his money, and maybe even beat him. Here's the thing. The Council might have been biased against Anakin, but it was clear that Obi-Wan was the right Jedi to fight Grievous. Obi-Wan's defensive skills made him one of the only Jedi that would have been able to withstand Grievous's all-out attacks. Anakin wouldn't have been able to hold up against that. The thing is though, Anakin's risky offensive style would catch Grievous off guard. So if Anakin cuts off an arm or two, suddenly it's a much different duel. For all my Star Wars fans out there, leave a comment down below telling me who you think would win this fight. To be honest with y'all though, I think Grievous will give Anakin a run for his money, and maybe even win. So to finish the video, Grievous goes in the maybe tier.